Well, crime rates, especially violent offenses in major cities, have soared in recent years. Homicides have hit record numbers, up 64% in Philadelphia, 45% in Los Angeles, and the once envied metropolis of San Francisco, just a total cesspool. Grand larceny, carjacking, sexual assault, all at their highest levels ever. Police in Dallas, Chicago, Baltimore all describe their streets a war zone. The common denominator? There are reports that billionaire George Soros financially backed the local campaigns in those cities. In particular, he helped liberal district attorney candidates radically outspend opponents on ads, sometimes even 4-to-1. George Gascon in Los Angeles, Chesa Boudin in San Francisco, Kim Foxx of Chicago, Marilyn Mosby of Baltimore, Alvin Bragg and Letitia James in New York. The list goes on and on. Elon Musk recognized this, talking with Joe Rogan recently, saying he believes Soros has nothing but nefarious intentions to destroy America. Listen.
My opinion, he fundamentally hates humanity. That's my opinion.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, well, he's doing things that erode the fabric of civilization. You know, getting DAs elected who refuse to prosecute crime. That's part of the problem in San Francisco and LA and a bunch of other cities. So why would you do that? Soros realized that you don't actually need to change the laws. You just need to change how they're enforced. If nobody chooses to enforce the law, or the laws are differentially enforced, it's like changing the laws.
Well, my next guest is the director of the Free Enterprise Project, Scott Shepard, who recently wrote an op-ed on the havoc that Soros has created. Scott, as always, good to see you. I mean, why is he doing this? Why is Soros doing this?
Well, I mean, maybe it's because of the terrible childhood he had. Maybe he's confused about what an open society is. But, you know, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I'm glad Elon is speaking about it. If I were setting out to destroy not only the United States, but the whole of the Anglosphere, the whole of the English-speaking world, the world that gave us democracy and free trade and solid growth and all of the things that are propelling modernity and propelling liberty, I can't think of anything I'd do differently than what he's been doing for the last 40 years. He started off these efforts in 1992 by blowing up the pound, blowing up a conservative administration in Britain, costing British taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. And then there and here in the United States, he's proceeded to, I mean, he funds the organizations that first teach teachers how to create gender dysphoria in children, and then teach those teachers to hide the fact of the gender dysphoria they create from parents until those children can be mutilated in children's hospitals for the purpose. He has funded the attacks on election integrity, including vote harvesting and opposition to ID laws, which he and his organizations call racist, even though every minority in this country, by majorities, consider that voter ID is the wise way to go. And most recently and most aggressively, as Elon's noticed, he has funded, in America's great cities, funded DAs who stop the police from arresting, and they themselves stop from prosecuting and jailing criminals who make the lives of average members of those cities, including minorities, miserable and hateful, and then claim again racism if anybody objects to his tearing down the city. So you take the people he claims to care most about, the poor and the vulnerable, and he makes it impossible for their children to learn. They don't learn math. They don't learn science. What they learn is anger and anti-white bias, et cetera, et cetera. You can't live in the cities, and so hatred and resentment is created that way. And none of us in this country anymore can trust our elections. So in every conceivable way, he's tearing down the American republic and those of our English-speaking cousins.
One of the things that Elon pointed out is that Soros figured out that he got more bang for his buck in local races, right? Sometimes 4-to-1. How do you take that on?
Well, I wish conservatives could finally understand this. We've got to do the same thing in response. Jason Millares, who's the Attorney General down in the Commonwealth of Virginia, he has said recently that he's got a plan for booting all of those Soros-funded DAs. That's a great first step, but we have to do that on every school board across the country. And not only do we have to get these monsters booted, but we have to have law and order conservatives, sensible people who will shore up the American Republic, replace them. And that requires movement at every level.
You know, Soros' family is not going away anytime soon. Even though he's 93 years old, he has a son who's 37 years old, right? Who's just going to keep on doing what his dad does.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, this family is warped. George Soros came out recently and said Chairman Xi of the Chinese Communist Party is the greatest threat to open society in the world. But if you look at Soros's actions rather than his glib talk, he's got to be right up there as the second or third greatest threat in the world to open society. He talks one game, but everything he does is about tearing down and creating chaos in America and its allies.
I got to ask you, you know, these pro-Palestinian protests we're seeing in the streets that are defacing monuments, ripping down American flags. Is Soros involved in any way from what your research shows?
Well, my understanding is that he has supported. I mean, it's on the long list, but he has supported pro-Palestinian organizations, just like he supported border-destroying organizations. And again, it sure looks like a comprehensive catalog of chaos.
I guess my last question is, what is the end goal and how do we stop it? We could sit here and talk about it. You know, we could sit here and talk about it, but it's been successful.
Yeah, I think that's right. And what we have to do is take the tactics and reverse the vector. So everything he's doing, we have to have well-funded national organizations that are fighting our elections at every single level, every single election, not letting midterms like 2023 in Virginia and Kentucky and Mississippi slip away. And, you know, at the top levels, we have to have competent people at the top of all our organizations, not surrender monkeys. And that seems like what we've had in place in certain organizations for quite a number of years now.
Yeah, the smart people need to come together and they need to align for a greater good. Scott Shepard, as always, good to see you.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you.